Okay, one other thing you need to be aware of is the impact that inflation can have on different investments. So inflation is an increase in the general or average level of prices in the economy. So basically what it means is that on average prices have become more expensive. An increase in inflation means that on average goods and services are more expensive than they were in the last period or year. So an inflation rate of 5%, for example, for the year suggests that prices on average have increased by 5% since the same time last year. Other terms, key terms, deflation. Deflation means a decrease in the average level of prices, so on average prices are going down. And disinflation is when prices are rising but not as fast as they have in previous periods. So if prices go up by 5% in year 1 and then 2.9% in year 2, we would describe this as disinflation because prices aren't going up as fast as they were last year, even though they're still going up. Hyperinflation is when prices go up really, really fast, and that can be caused by printing too much money or severe shortages. Why do consumers want a higher rate of interest on their savings when inflation is higher? So consumers demand higher returns on their savings to protect the real value of their money. So higher rates of inflation mean that the value of money has essentially gone down. So if you have $5,000 in the bank and prices are rising faster, your $5,000 is worth less in terms of how much you could purchase with that money. So if you've put $5,000 in the bank and suddenly prices go up by 10% of just general goods and services, then the $5,000 you put in the bank is not worth as much as what it was when you've initially deposited that money. Therefore, the higher rate of inflation, the higher rate savers will demand to keep their money in the bank. So if inflation is at 5%, those with savings accounts want at least 5%, they want more than 5% in order to make money on their deposits. Otherwise, the money they've got there is really worth less when they take it out in terms of how much they can afford to buy with that money. When inflation increases, banks also wish to protect themselves. So if they've lent you $50,000 and inflation increases by 20%, they're going to want more than a 20% return or charge you more than 20% interest. So when you pay the money back, it's not worth as much to them if inflation is really high. So banks would actually lose money on the transaction unless they charge you an interest rate that's higher than the rate of inflation. So banks will charge higher interest rates on loans when inflation is high to ensure that when you repay the money, you're actually paying them back more in real terms. And what I mean by that is that the amount that you're paying them back is actually worth more in terms of how much you can buy in terms of goods and services than when you initially took the loan out. So the higher the rate of inflation, generally the higher the rate of interest, so that banks protect themselves against rising prices. Would you want a higher interest rate on your savings when inflation is high? Yes, you would, because you want to protect the real value of your money. Thank you.